So they have the red zone. P-Man.
Yeah, I've actually been in a F-18 before.
Really? Because you have to take out not only like these slow units, everything is also rushing towards you. How'd you like that move? I did a little loop and I got right behind him. Yeah, this thing like controls like a pancake.
Yes, yeah, that because essentially, for all intents and purposes, it is a pancake.
Have you ever drifted a plane in real life?
No, well.
And welcome back to Beyond the Pixel Plays Air Combat. I'm back again, along with Blue. Blue, you ready to fly some more planes?
I'm ready to go.
I'm just going to close the window. My antivirus just popped up. And let's go to mission 3. Actually, let's take a look at our aircraft. Because now we have a bit of money. So we have the MiG, which has low mobility and stability, but a lot of defense and offense. Ah, here we go. We got a new one.
Ooh, nice.
How do you
F-18.
pronounce this? Is it F-A?
Yeah, you'd say F-A-18.
Okay.
Or just F-18. I've actually been in a F-18 before.
Really? It looks like such a smaller plane compared to the other ones.
Definitely, yeah. Especially as it became the new naval aircraft for when replacing the F-14, because the F-14's immense. It's huge, right? And then this is so much smaller, but it's still most of the time, well, not most of the time, but it has configurations for two-seaters, one for a weapon systems officer and one for the pilot. Kind of the stuff you'd see in Top Gun, in the newer Top Gun.
Gotcha. All right, well, let's buy this plane here. It has a very distressing sound when you buy the plane.
It's like you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. So unlike Armored Core, when you buy the plane, you can only sell it for half the price. So you gotta really commit to your decisions. You can't just swap out planes willy-nilly.
Yeah.
And as you can see, like you saw it in its original color, but when you buy it, they paint it with whatever this mercenary force's color palette is.
Yeah, it's like a cool paint, like fire paint job, basically.
Neutralize the approaching units. Target enemy attacking force. Formation makeup is unknown. Expect enemy fighter support and a tough dogfight.
Yeah, the F-18 is a super cool aircraft. Super capable as well.
Yeah, I ended up taking it because I know this one is heavily focused on like a big dogfight.
Yeah.
That phrase, dogfight, do you know where it comes from?
It's a good question. And a good question I can Google.
Okay. So this mission here is the first one that they really make you. Now your targets are actual fighter planes. So you can see they keep stepping up the difficulty a little bit. You know, first it's like fighting like planes when they're not facing you with like a few fighter aircraft. The next one they added like tail gunners to the bombers. And now this is the first time you're forced to actually get into like fighters.
Very cool.
Because you have to take out not only like these slow units, everything is also rushing towards you.
Yeah, I love the track on this. It's a good song.
Oh god, I might just crash this thing immediately.
It's like actually dogfight occurred during the Mexican Revolution in 1913.
Really?
Like very shortly after the introduction of aircraft into like a military capacity.
Is that not very common to have like aircraft versus aircraft?
Like right now, no, very much no. You know, it was way more common in, I want to say like, you know, post World War II, it just became increasingly less common to the point where like it almost never happens now because the technology is so advanced that more often than not, you're going to be using these missile radar systems to shoot an enemy before they even know something is coming at them. To be in a range to dogfight with the guns of the aircraft is so uncommon.
But they still have the technology to support it, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, they still build aircraft to support that mission capacity if it's needed. Because you never know if that's going to happen. You could run out of your missiles. They could be too close for missiles, things like that. So just being prepared in that way, they still build aircraft. But with the introduction of the F-35, which can be used as a dogfighting aircraft or used as a bombing support aircraft.
Yeah, I imagine it's definitely more geared to support like troops on the ground.
Yes.
At least from my experience in playing Ghost Recon. So.
Yes. Yeah, and you see aircraft like the A-10 specifically, I mean, it's very old at this point, but killing purely in air-to-ground support capacity.
I'm gonna try and boost past this guy and do a little loopy-loop. Oh, see, you can see he's turning right towards me.
Yep.
So much of this game is like played on this map, like trying to find.
Yeah. The F-18 as well is actually the same aircraft that the Blue Angels use.
Oh, okay.
Enemy in sight.
So very maneuverable, very capable.
How'd you like that move? I did a little loop and I got right behind him. Do you approve?
Absolutely. Have they introduced like the drifting like they did in later games?
No.
Or is this just...
No, I'm definitely like, you can probably only really see it through like the speedometer, but I am controlling my throttle a lot when I do these moves.
Oh, okay.
Like I'm accelerating to like get far ahead and then I'm hard braking to like come back around. That's the left bar you can see. That's whenever you see it moving, that's me adjusting the throttle. It's usually super consistent if you just leave it alone. It'll always like kind of hit that middle ground, but like here I'm hard braking, and then you can see you accelerate pretty quickly, and then it slowly goes back down once you let it go.
Nice, okay.
So like braking is actually like very tough. You see, I'm gonna let go of the brake right now. I'm gonna start braking. It doesn't actually brake all that fast.
Yeah.
All right, let me actually.
If you brake and pull with that, I'd imagine that's slow you faster.
What's that?
If you brake and pitch, I'd imagine that would slow you faster too.
Oh
right?
yeah, probably. Here, like, I'm gonna do that. Yeah, look at that. That does drop it. You're right. Yeah, I guess that's how plane works.
Yeah.
Have you ever drifted a plane in real life?
No. Well, sometimes there's this thing when you're coming in for a landing when, essentially there's a lot of wind, especially in small aircraft. There's a lot of wind pushing against you, perpendicular. So it's causing you to shift. So you have to do this thing called crabbing, where you use the rudders to essentially turn the aircraft almost sideways, but you're going straight ahead. And then a kind of like, not the last second, but you kind of ease it into landing on the runway straight, because obviously you don't want to land sideways, but you need to like stay almost sideways as you're coming in for a landing to actually continue to go straight onto the path into the runway.
Wow, very cool. I imagine nothing as dramatic as... Did you ever play Tom Clancy's Hawks?
Yes. Nothing that crazy, no. Those maneuvers probably would send your spine out of your back.
Yeah. For people who haven't seen Tom Clancy's Hawks, if you press the accelerator and the brake button at the same time, your plane would literally pitch on its axis and flip like a pancake.
Yep.
So you could make a crazy move like that. Oh, I never heard of this plane before. TNDF.
TNDF. It looks like a Eurofighter. Which is... But actually, it kind of also looks like a F-16 for some reason. I'm going to Google it.
You think this is a fake plane?
It may be. And I doubt it, honestly, but it might just be something I don't know. Is the Tornado F2 real? So the Tornado is a Eurofighter I know about, but I don't think it's... But is it real? It is real. Okay, it's supposed to represent a Tornado F2.
Okay.
But it looks way different in this game than it does, because this looks, at least the profile to me in this looks more like an F-16 than it does the Tornado.
Gotcha.
The Tornado's wings have swept way more.
Let's see, this plane is definitely real, the F-15.
Yes, definitely.
Is this the Top Gun plane?
F-14, I believe, is the Top Gun plane.
F-14 is the Top Gun plane. This one here. Yes,
yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
Do they just number these like sequels, like the F-14 came out, then came the F-15, or is there a different meaning to it?
So it's really just up to the manufacturer at this point, but it kind of depends on what they're using the configuration for, because the number could mean a different operational capacity as well. So like a good example of that is the C-130 isn't typically just a C-130. It's C-130J, C-130H, a C-130, and it describes a different operational capacity for that aircraft. So like
Up to now,
F-15 was more air superiority, and the F-14 was kind of like a multi-role, but also an interceptor aircraft.
Target 1, Computer Communication Center.
So they can be used in conjunction with each other, even if they're different generations.
Gotcha. Okay.
Night conditions should neutralize enemy ground fire.
So
However, the city
this is
has
our
at least
first
3
ground attack
interceptors
mission
available.
here,
We have
where
no
we're
intelligence
attacking
on
this.
force composition. From now on, you will have a wingman assigned to you. Inform him of the operation before departure.
So a couple of interesting things here in this briefing.
Yeah.
This is the first time we're going to be attacking a ground locations. This is also an attack at night, which is the first mission that, like, originally I was using a stealth plane, because your targets are all these buildings. So I figured if you were using a stealth plane, you would, you know, you'd just be able to hit your targets and run away before someone had the lock on you.
Yeah, for sure. And the stealth aircraft in this available to you right now is primarily a bomber as well, so that would make sense.
So, you know, for the sake of that, let's go ahead and just buy that plane. I think it's expensive. Oh, it's not that expensive, actually. I mean, comparatively.
Yeah, to other stuff, yeah.
It doesn't blow our entire budget, but let's use that.
No, yeah.
We can talk a bit about stealth planes then. So, like, the triangular sides of it, that's supposed to, like, repel radar pings on it?
Yeah, so it's meant to bounce the radar. It will like, deflect it almost, so it doesn't pick it up as accurately, because you're, for the most part, depending on the coding and configuration of the aircraft, you're kind of always going to get picked up at some point, but it's how much time until you get picked up by that radar as like an accurate location.
Oh, okay. So it's more like the information that they're going to get is out of date. You'll already have moved away at that point.
Yeah, for sure. So it's like essentially the shape of the aircraft, like you can see it's super angular and the bottom is completely flat. It's meant to deflect the radar waves like completely away from it. And it's radars operate on taking the reflected energy that's reflected directly back at them to give it an accurate reading. So when that aircraft, stealth aircraft in general, are taking that energy and deflecting it instead of sending it right back to the radar, it just makes it less visible on the radars that they're using.
Okay, cool. Right. So we'll take another listen at this briefing.
Up to now, our offensive missions have been constrained by the presence of civilians in Donut City. A recent evacuation of that city permits us to engage hard targets within the city perimeter. Target 1, Computer Communication Center. Target 2, Enemy Headquarters Building. Night conditions should neutralize enemy ground fire. However, the city has at least 3 interceptors available. We have no intelligence on force composition. From now on, you will have a wingman assigned to you. Inform him of the operation before departure.
Yeah, so the other thing that you have here in the game now is that you have your wingmen. Which, to be honest, I don't know what he does.
Just takes targets over, like, off your back, maybe? Or just, like, gives the other planes more targets?
We'll play with him here, because you have 2 options for him. You actually get to pick one. And you see they have different sort of wage costs.
Yeah.
And you pay them up front.
Oh, okay.
So if you can't afford a wingman, you just don't get one.
I see.
And you can give them different instructions, like guard my tail on your own, secure the construct, which I don't know what that means. I guess it must mean, like, if you're attacking, like, the building, it will make sure that area is clear for you.
Secure the construct, yeah. Maybe it just secures the surrounding airspace?
Yeah. Let's see here. This guy is also in the stealth aircraft.
Okay, cool.
And we have this guy in the F4. So I think if I can just get one of them to guard my tail, and we'll see if
Yeah,
we'll see how
that's a good idea.
how worthwhile that is for us. It is
Yeah.
very expensive though.
It is very expensive. You're right.
And if you run out of money and you can't buy planes, yeah, game over.
Oh wow.
It's
that's
done.
a good point.
It's done. There is no coming back from that. Unlike an Armored Core, where you can buy and sell stuff for the same amount of price. So it's interesting in Armored Core. The money you earn is almost like the currency you have to level up.
Right now.
Huh. That's an interesting way to like make sure the player doesn't just use aircraft willy-nilly.
Yeah.
Like they're actually using it for its purpose or really trying to not get destroyed. Because I feel like it's not similar with even modern Ace Combat games. Like you don't really have to worry about the economic component of it.
No, not at all. Just like what cool planes you want to buy, what cool weapons you want to use. Oh god.
Yeah.
Just stalled my plane there for the first time. Yeah, this thing like controls like a pancake.
Yeah, that because essentially, for all intents and purposes, it is a pancake.
So that was like
this track.
It's good. Also, our first night mission. You can see already giving like a lot of variety in sort of the gameplay that you have there.
Yeah.
It's a good scaling of things. Mixing
very
in
cool.
attacking bombers, and I love this one here because you can almost play it without looking at the map because all you do is follow the river. And they managed to do a lot just with the PS1 graphics. You can see there's a very short draw distance. But it still visually looks quite nice. Of course, we're playing it on Duck Station, but look at the city as it come up here. Like it's still
the draw distance is pretty impressive, especially for how old it is.
Right, that's one building. Like the little neon as well. The red zone.
Yeah.
It's like a
These
little.
games are just so cool. It's just the aesthetic of the time. It's just so focused. It's just because as you said earlier, it's just you don't have that many people working on this in comparison to today's games. So it's just like everything, aesthetic-wise, is just so locked in. It's just so consistent.
Yeah. We'll do a little drive-by here just so you can see these buildings a little bit more. So they have the red zone. P-Man. Can't really tell what that red one is. Medama. Again, Namco game, based in Japan, so. Interesting facts, like you say, about the graphics. The game was originally meant to be a direct port of Air Combat, which was the arcade game.
Okay.
On the architecture, it was very polygonal, and it was well regarded at the time for being like very impressive, because they had polygons and such on screen. They decided not to make a remake of that game for the PlayStation 1, like a direct port, because they felt the PS1 game would not be able to do the graphics to the level that they did in the arcade. But you compare the two, and I think this game has so much more personality and style than that one. And so I think they made a really good decision of just making their own game.
Yeah, that's seems to be usually a good call. Is just to go with something original over something copied.
Also, when you get a wingman, he does that little like wing shake at the end.
That's awesome. Yeah,
every
that's sick.
time.
I just noticed that.
Every time they did that little, hey, hi, what's up? I'm here too.
Yeah, that's just a normal kind of like show of good faith, I guess.
Oh, really?
Because like if it's kind of universal. Like, given the interest, I play a lot of aviation games as well. Play a lot of War Thunder. Play a lot of DCS, anything like that, right? And a really good VR game that I play a lot is called VTOL VR. And whether it's an enemy combatant that you're trying to like non-verbally communicate with, a non-identified aircraft you're trying to communicate with, or a friendly, you just kind of shake the wings back and forth. You just roll left and right.
Wow.
And it's just one of those things like you do in video games. Not just video games. It happens in real life, but it's basically to indicate you maybe have a radio failure or some kind of communications failure. But it's like when you're in a tank in a video game and you start shaking your barrel to the left and right to indicate something.
Indicate no, abort, not now.
Yep.
Like, go away. Let me reload. So you can see we can buy another F4 now. For some reason, I guess. You can see it has the little raptor on the nose, or however you call it.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
Very pixelated, but it's there.
Yeah, that's actually pretty consistent with the time as well. You see that on F4 fighters in Vietnam.
What was the policy on actually painting those ones? I'm gonna buy this F-15 here to use in the next mission. But
as far as I understand, it's really up to the unit. And combat units typically have much more leeway on what they can do with that stuff. I feel like as long as it's not disrespecting their unit or other units, it's fine. Okay. So you can pretty much do whatever.
Who paints those? Is there a specific like company or is it just?
I don't think it's a company. I think it's service members that take up that role.
Really?
As far as I know, yeah.
Wow.
Because they would do that in World War II. They'd stuff like pinup girls or different decals on the side of aircraft, and talented service members would just take up that role and do that.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Is that common in modern times now?
Still, the insignia definitely, yeah. Like pretty much every aircraft will have some kind of, especially the bigger aircraft, some kind of insignia on the side. It's a fighter aircraft, you'll have your call sign and maybe a logo or something like that. Very much depends, but it's always up to the pilots or the operational group that you're a part of. So, but it's definitely, yeah, absolutely, still very common.
Very cool. All right, so we're at the end of this episode, and thanks so much for being here, Blue. We're having like a really great time. In the next episode, we actually have our first fork in the mission. We get to choose which one of these missions we want to do, either destroying pipelines or destroying the production site.
Ooh.
Yeah. So we'll get right back on that next time. See you then.